just in. Protesters are running amok. It would appear that the members of three opposing views of the biblical creation are expressing their conflicting opinions in a physical matter. Members of the conflict include the young earth creationists, also known as the YECs of the Yucks. These individuals believe that Earth is relatively young, around 5,700 to 10,000 years old in fact, and that God created the Earth in 6 literal 24-hour days. The intelligent design believers, or the IDs, are not excluded in this public brawl. These individuals base their beliefs in Niles Eldredge and Stephen Jay Gould, theory of punctual equilibrium, that living things persist for millions of years in an equilibrium of ecological relationships and communities. Then, from time to time, that static equilibrium is punctuated by brief periods of rapid change. With this theory, more commonly called punk-eek, the ID disregard Darwin's descent with modification, what we call macroevolution, and instead believe that a designer has created all of the Earth's species in intervals. It seems to me that this designer is no more than a magician who creates an evolution-like illusion. The third group of individuals, the irreducible complexity members, are not to be forgotten. Irreducible complexity members follow Michael Behe, a biochemist. Behe and his followers look at the science. They believe that certain biological systems are just too complex to have evolved from a lesser complex system, and thus these systems must have been designed. You take one thing out of the system and it simply will not work. It is obvious that all of these protesting participants are conflicting individuals. We have one of our members from GNS News on the scene. Kaylee, can you tell us a little more about what is going on down there?
Thanks, Tana. I'm here on the corner of Religious and Evolution Street, where the conflicting believers have gathered to protest their conflicting beliefs. As you can see, these individuals are not yet ready to back down from their beliefs, nor attempt to cover multiple beliefs into an anonymous belief. I have a member from each group here to tell us a little bit about why they are here today. Let's see what they have to say.
Showing our viewers all of the commotion of the controversy of creation. Why are you here today?
The young earth creationists here today, including myself, want to tell you that God created this world and it is actively guiding us through life. This so-called evolution is a false representation of where we came from. Scientists say they can date rocks to determine the age of the earth. This form of measurement is unreliable and unrealistic. We do not need answers through the sciences. There is one authoritative source, and that's the Bible.
Okay, disregard everything that girl
Take this
said.
time, okay?
You know what? You can take that. So the intelligent design community wants to tell you the whole truth. The Earth is billions of years old, and throughout time there has been a creator, and let's not put a name like God on them. Let's say a designer, and they have continually created species throughout time. There's nothing wrong with modern day sciences. In fact, they have been great progress for our humanity. The fossil records are indisputable proof of how there have been long periods of time where microevolution has been dormant until the designer creates new species in an escalating period of time. You see this? This is a truth. It's going to hit you in the face.
Okay, so she's kind of gotten somewhere, but obviously these two yokels have not looked at biological systems to see that these systems are too complicated and too complex for them to evolve from something so simple. If you take a small piece out of the system can no longer function, which means it dies. The designer created this necessary complex systems, and it can't make it any simpler. Therefore, the systems have had to evolve. You all need to do some evolving of your own, of your brains, because obviously you two don't think right.
I agree with you.
Thanks for giving us live updates, Kaylee. All this and more to come. Stay tuned, your GNS News starts now. GNS News with us today. I'm Tana Podorf. We will keep you up to date on the protesters throughout the broadcast. We have a jam-packed show for you today, including information on the new movie, The Search for Ecotopia, to a full weather update. Kaylee, how is our skies looking today? I hear there's lots of rain in the forecast.
Yes, Tana, this is true. As we looked last week where it was 93 and sunny, today is 53 and cloudy. There's a 90% chance of rain tomorrow, but look out for rain for a couple weeks. Hopefully we don't break the record of the Great Flood from last year, which was 39 days long. Although we know that unlike the YEC, scientists do not believe this to be true data in the modern age. With this being said, you may want to practice your breaststrokes, Tina.
That is no joke, Kaylee. Speaking of practice, let's see how various organisms are practicing for the Flood Olympics. Allison?
Thanks, Tana. As you know, the Flood Olympics will be beginning in the next few days. For those of you who don't follow sports, the Flood Olympics will begin with a rain that'll last up to 40 days or nights, causing a flood, and then it's every organism for itself. The goal, to be the strongest and survive the longest. Right now, it looks like the runners are preparing to outrun the flood, but I don't know if that'll help them that much once the water gets past their legs. They're not the most complex people on this earth. They'll probably come in second in the geological layers. The plants are in a bit of a pinch because, well, they're stuck in the ground, and they aren't able to get out. I don't see them surviving anytime soon. And last but not least, the swimmers have been in the water since day one. They have my vote for the top of the geological layer. They've been really preparing with the underwater swims and the long-distance sets. Let's hope they've been practicing their treading, too.
Moving on from sports, the new movie, The Search for Ecotopia, fits snugly into rethinking and refeeling mankind's place in the world. Katie, what do you have for me today?
Thank you, Tana. The much anticipated movie, The Search for Ecotopia, has been received well with most of this generation's adults. But there has been much debate with individuals who practice Western Christianity. Not to put a label on everyone who shares the view of Christian religion, but there seems to be a general unawareness and disregard for the natural crises society faces. In contrast, this cinematic masterpiece has shown what it truly means to find harmony with nature. The whole preface of the movie is to try and capture the holistic relationship of nature presented in Richard Bauckham's book, The Bible and Ecology. Before I get ahead of myself, let's first watch the Search for Ecotopia promotional trailer.
Have you ever felt as though something were missing? Like you were created to be part of something bigger, outside of mankind? That is because God intended so much more for each part of His creation. A group from the William Jewell College has felt this need to find the true value of nature through the eyes of God.
This wood was so beautiful. Why? I got it
Come along with these students as they strive to live an interdependent relationship with the rest of nature. Coming to theaters near you, summer 2020.
The movie seems very entertaining and inventive, but according to what Richard Bauckham calls biblical ecotopia, is not entirely correct. Yes, mankind needs to be careful about using the Earth's resources and not exploit the resources to where it affects ecosystems or other species, but God allows for man to take from the Earth. The most classical example is agriculture. In the case of crying in front of the chopped wood, this is a bit extreme. Another large gap in searching for Ecotopia's storyline is the lack of how crucial the biblical narrative is to reconciliation of nature and mankind's relationship. Jesus' life, death, resurrection, and return will bring on the possibilities of a new creation. Because Jesus died, like all living things will, He has bound all of creation into the promise of a new day and new earth. It's through Christ's resurrection that all of creation will share eternal life in the presence of God in a new world where sin has been abolished and the relationship between all of creation is restored.
I will definitely have to go see that movie when it comes out. Thanks, Katie. But before we move on to our last segment of this morning news broadcast, GNS News presents our sponsor.
This message is brought to you by Think Right Shampoo, the only shampoo you can use to rethink and refeel your destiny with nature. This is Mr. Jones. Before using Think Right shampoo, Mr. Jones drove a car. Driving a car pollutes the air and is damaging to all of nature. After using Think Right shampoo, Mr. Jones uses a more environmental-friendly form of transportation. He rides a bike. Cohabitate with nature by using Think Right shampoo. Start decreasing environmental pollution today. Available at any local grocery store.
There has been lots of talk recently about how our very own genes might be causing predispositions and be playing a role in one's will and what determines what is right and what is wrong. Our very own reporter Allison was able to sit down with Dr. Double Helix this past week and get the latest on what our genes are up to.
Thanks, Hannah. I'm here with Dr. Double Helix, who's been doing some extra work with his genes, both in the laundry room and the laboratory. Dr. Double Helix, it is my understanding that somehow our genes are going against us and determining our free will. And how do we exactly perceive right and wrong?
Actually, Allison, our genes are not as cynical as they may sound. They are simply doing what they do best. You see, I have been studying how our genetics affect us as humans and how it causes us to react to certain situations. In a nutshell, we are living today because our genetics have been passed down from generation to generation and have somehow managed to beat the odds, so to speak, and survive as what you could call the fittest through evolution to allow us to be here, with you and me here sitting today. And due to this natural-made society morals, individuals are shaped and molded by nature and nurture. Because of this, it is possible that religion, instead of being the foundation in which individuals learn what is right and what is wrong, it is instead there for structural support, or in other words, enforcement of morals, that which determines what we do, how we act, those sort of things.
I'm sure you could talk about this all day with as enthusiastic as you are. Could you tell me how our culture might be influencing our behavior?
Gladly, of course. One possible hypothesis is that our culture has so much influence on our morals that it leaves God, for the most part, out of the picture. You see, a society does not survive by allowing its individuals to steal and murder one another. This would be bad news for survival rights of any community, as you could quite imagine. We as humans, you see, have evolved for some sort of sense, some need for community. And it is no secret that, evolutionary speaking, strength comes in numbers. Individuals who joined and or created communities had a much better chance of survival than those lone wolves that did not. In fact, over enough time, these lone wolves who did not form communities were unable to repopulate and pass on their genetics, and so they died off, which leaves us with the communities that we have today, the community needing individuals.
All right, well, one last question before we go. I know you tend to focus more on the micro scale of things, but on a large scale, what are your thoughts on how the brain may offer insight onto the idea of a soul?
Indeed, this topic tends to be a touchy subject, and often a main dividing point between some religions. You see, previously, a common understanding was that one's soul was what controlled an individual's personality and emotion, as we call it. And of course, we know now today that this is entirely untrue. A common term for the soul, historically speaking, was nefesh and neshama. It is interesting, however, because although nefesh and neshama often translate to soul with regard to the book of Genesis, they are often used to mean more accurately God's breath of life. This is why some Greeks believed that the simple breath of life was the soul, which was separate from the physical body. Like the soul, one can neither see nor hold a breath of life. It is simply something one feels. The theory is why some individuals believe that during God's resurrection, the soul will return to the God, but the body would remain. Other individuals, such as early Christians and Jews, believed that the soul and the body could not live without each other. This caused the idea that during the resurrection, both the soul and the body would return to God.
Truly fascinating views. Thank you for joining me today, Dr. Double Helix, and I hope you're able to continue your work in the years coming. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, the work that Dr. Double Helix has been up to is completely mind-boggling. In other news, a monk, a nun, and a coma patient all experience the same sensation, yet all have different interpretations of the experience. It is said that all three individuals had a sense of oneness or belongingness, like part of a fluid substance. The monk interpreted the sensation as being one with the universe. The nun interpreted the sensation during prayer and claimed that it was God giving her peace and comfort. The coma patient was unable to provide descriptive words for the feeling of this blissful sensation. It is said that one's brain's lack of external environmental stimuli can cause people to lose their orientation or place in time and make them feel a sense of oneness. A direct prayer with God could be explained as just a form of meditation. Individuals could have this feeling when God is not even present at all. However, an individual's paradigms are what cause said person to have a different explanation of the sensation compared to others. With this being said, make sure to check back with us for the 5 o'clock news, and we will keep you up to date with the riot that is continuing. Thanks for tuning in with us today at GNS News. I'm Tana Potworth.
I'm Katie Jones.
I'm Allison Henderson.
I'm Kaylee Wright.
And I'm Erin Kinky. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.